Hello everybody, today I have the pleasure to propose to you this key 68 entitled Science and Spirituality, a possible love story and or an impossible love story. So we will try to see if it's possible or not, if it has been the case in the past and so on. So today I'm gonna present you a little bit the syllabus, the orchestration of this 4 different steps of 4 different videos to really deepen a little bit, because we're gonna spend time, more than half an hour for each of them, because it's a very important topic. So why this approach? Why this theme? Actually, there is a kind of duality, a battle, and so on between these 2 camps, for which is absolutely a nonsense. We will see the history and so on, but this is a kind of blind battle for which it's like if we had to choose, okay, like a dualist approach and so on. So we will try to have more perspectives, more overview, to try to integrate, to try to see if it's compatible, if it's possible to match together. So, and also why was the main reason why of this video is basically because we don't see so much, we don't see so many information, books, video regarding these incredible topics of the collaboration or the complementarity between science and spirituality. So here it is, the structure, the syllabus in a certain extent, in 5 steps, let's say. First of all, we will depict a little bit the kind of introduction and so on. Then the evolution, okay, of this love story, that to say between science and spirituality from the past in different cultures till today, okay, to see the evolution, if it has been always a battle or if it has been a complementary for a long-term run. We will see this, okay, first of all. Second aspect, we will see that there is 2 different approach and 2 different protocol. Okay, it means that the process of analyzing and let's say vibrating both, okay, science from one side and science and spirituality from the other side are different. Okay, I mean the approach, then the result and the quest and the reason for being. Let's say we can consider both of them. They are trying to explain the meaning of life, our origin, why we are on Earth, if there is a creator, and so on and so forth. So, third, we will see the complementarity, okay, the similarities in between both aspects, let's say, science and spirituality. 4, we will see some, let's say, interface, the membranes, the links between science and spirituality. What are the main topics? And for me, there is a minimum 4, for which it's like a bridge between science and spirituality, and especially to open up, let's say, the process of infinite personal awakening, and or for those who are really skeptical, these are ways, progressive way to try to open up the consciousness and so on. And also on the other way around, so this bridge are also true on the river side. It's also a connection for getting back to science, but I think open-minded science, not strict science. Same for spirituality. We will have to consider that we will have to be careful about this topic and to be, let's say, benevolent, that is, tolerant regarding each point of view and so on, okay, with a certain kind of openness, of course. So 5, we will see the different powers and also practice, around 12 of them, with some theories and theorem and so on that we have in science, that we can have, let's say, the equivalence in terms of concept and so on in spirituality, to see that it's matching as well. And then we will see kind of conclusion, but also more an opening, because we will probably have more question at the end than at the beginning. So let's start with the notion of the evolution of this, let's say, this topic. Okay, so I told you the main reason of being is to try to simplify, to try to apply a certain different analyses regarding this topic, science and spirituality, with less preconceived idea, okay, with a certain tolerance, of course. And how come? Why like this? Because we're gonna apply a holistic perception. I say many times, holos in Greek means global, entire. So this is a global approach. This is an overview from both sides, science and spirituality. Why I precise that? Because most of the time our Western mentality, mindset and so on, education in general, is not holistic at all. It is dualist. Dualist means duality, opposition, systematically good, bad, hot, cold, dark, light, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's like if in this approach, duality, only one camp, only one of them can be right, and necessarily the other one is wrong. Okay, so we will see that this approach is absolutely not the case, and applying this notion of yin-yang, you know, like Taoism, the fact that there is systematically a little bit of yin within the yang and vice versa, we'll try to see that maybe this approach of this is this or that, black or white, maybe doesn't work anymore, and maybe we should enlarge our perspective regarding more some different shades, let's say, like a rainbow. Okay, so this is really important to avoid this binary vision, you know, dualists, with more an expansion of our field of consciousness. Okay, this is really important. I will do a parallel, that's why the title is like this, science and spirituality, a love story, a possible love story, and in brackets, possible and or impossible love story, because it's up to you to decide at the end. I'm not imposing, I'm just trying to propose different elements, some information, and then you will judge by your own, and you will take your own conclusions. But it's a parallel with a kind of with love, and you will understand the analogies. Why? Because you know, the approach of I mean, love. First, it can be a kind of feeling, like love at first sight. Oh, I don't know why I have her or him in mind, and so on. My body, I really vibrate, and so on. So love at first sight. So it's not really rational. It's just feelings, okay, that normally sometimes we cannot control. Okay, so it's a question of stimuli, you know, like the almost animal. So this is a kind of equivalent to the faith. Okay, the faith, you have it, you have been built it like this or not. Okay, you were born with it or not. Okay, so that's the first aspect of love in a certain extent. And if we apply the notion of spirituality, this is a parallel. Same for science. But also, if we go further, love can occur as well with more rationality. Okay, maybe at the beginning you start a relationship, you're not necessarily completely, is not patient, so you're not completely attracted through by this person and so on. But step by step, with rationality, you will find some different centers of interests. You will find some, let's say, common points, like humor, like discussion, and so on and so forth. And love will occur and happen differently. Okay, so what I try to tell you is even love can be completely blind. Okay, like spirituality, you have the faith and you don't want to necessarily to question it. And secondly, because you are seeking, at the end, you find some elements, and your faith can be more constructive through a process of a certain involvement in an approach, rational approach. Okay, so I hope this is clear. This point. You know, regarding spirituality, this is really similar to art. Okay. Is it subjective? It is objective. We can consider there is some objective art and subjective art. Let me explain. If you see Mona Lisa from Da Vinci, we cannot contest. You like, you don't like. It's not your cup of tea. It's not your taste because it's maybe too not modern enough, too austere, and so why not? Okay, but objectively speaking, this is beautiful, sorry. It's well done. It looks like a kind of picture and so on. So this is difficult to consider is ugly, let's say. So we can say that it is objectively beautiful for art. Then abstract art is a little bit different. Okay, if you see some paintings like Picasso and so on, this is abstract, so we can consider even a kid of 4 years old could do an equivalent. Of course, there is a philosophy behind and so on, so far. I'm not judging badly and so on, but we can consider that certain people will vibrate with it and some others not. Okay, so what I try to tell you is, in the approach of spirituality, it can be kind of near objectivity, but it doesn't exist at all. Okay, everything is relative. Everything is relating according to the frame of reference, according to our perception, our education, our personality, and so on. Okay, this is the principle. I say many times the Rubik's Cube. Okay, if I show you, because there is 6 faces, so if I show you, you're gonna say, it's green, and me, from my side, it will be maybe a blue, and someone here I will say it's yellow, and so on. So was right? Nobody, because it's multicolor. Okay, this is the principle of what I always say: the absolute truth is the sum of the relative truth. What does it mean? It means literally, only if we could put together the old faces of the old Rubik's Cube according to the face of everybody, we could eventually tend to a kind of objectivity and absolute truth, which is even impossible because we would be obliged to do the survey worldwide from the past and from the future and the potential and so on. So that's why Rumi, the great Sufi, said truth was in the hand of God, like a mirror. Broke, everyone fall down, he broke, and everybody take a small piece and say that the whole truth is in it. Okay, so is this concept actually? This is the main problem of proselytism, of the fact because I saw first sight, it cannot have any other perspective. This is proselytism. I believe in something, I want to impose you. And this is true for science and for spirituality. Some people are becoming step by step religious, spiritual, and they cannot consider that some other people don't think like them. Okay, so they impose their beliefs. Okay, and same for science. Some people are absolutely not tolerant at all regarding faith, which they consider it's like for kids or for non-really mature people. Well, let's continue. Very important aspect. We cannot consider there is 2 camps. Okay, this is a battle between 2 teams, like the team, science and the team spirituality. Not at all. It's not homogeneous at all. Why? Because simply there are different schools, different approach, different theories, different sensitivity, different people, and so on. Okay, so you can imagine how many combinations within science, within spirituality. You have different disciplines. Okay, you have different kind of cells. Okay, like departments. You have some books, then you have chapters, then you have paragraphs, and so on. So, and sometimes they are not necessarily they are contradictory. They have one current, let's say one school, other people have other perception, and so on and so forth. So this is the first thing. And for science, as for spirituality, in addition of that, it's evolving. It's evolving through time. A knowledge can be contradicts, can evolve with time. Okay, when I was young, I was studying that DNA was fixed and could not move anymore. So we know that it is not true. According to the mindset, we can adjust. This is what we call neuroplasticity, epigenetic even. Okay, so it's Bruce Lipton theory with official papers and so on. So science is evolutive. Okay, in the past, most of people thought Earth was flat and so on. So there was an evolution before, without that, the sun and so on. You know, the perspective changed over the time. So that's really important to consider. There is no camps. There is no two camps. Okay, it's an illusion. This is absolutely untrue at all. So, so the goal is more to see, okay, the functioning of these groups as with their, let's say, subsets. Okay, to try to understand this perspective, sorry, their approach, and also to understand their functioning individually, and then as a group. Okay, as we do always for holistic approaches, like understanding the full electronic device, and then to understand the functioning of each component. That's the same principle. This is holistic vision. And so the goal is not a fusion, is not a confusion either, but more a collaboration, because we will try to establish, okay, a kind of collaboration, and to try to see if it has been the case, or if it's just a belief, or a desire, and so on. Is it something I wish for myself, and so on. So we'll try to see this. Okay, so you know, and there is something in spirituality, so we can say, and there is different schools. We could even consider spirituality is the biggest one. Then within that, so we could say beliefs, and then there is let's say a more traditional, let's say cults, like let's say animists and so on and so forth, shamans. Then also institution. Okay, for which there is a kind of organization, let's say, with some holy scripture and so on, eventually some institution and so on. Then you can split up with polytheism, with monotheism and so on. Okay, all this, okay. And then you have systematically some subsets. If you take Christianity, you have Catholicism, you have Protestantism. Then within this, you can subset with Baptist, with Lutheran, with many different subsets, okay, subcategories. All right. Well, anyway, just to say that there is something that I will talk in the future, baptized by René Guénon, French man from the previous century, who talk about primordial tradition. What is it? It is he tried to establish, which is quite rare in what I try to I mean, I started when I was 12 years old. And what is it? It is concretely, he tried to establish a common thread with different beliefs, with different religion, different spirituality, different esoteric current, and so on. And this is really interesting because, unfortunately, this is something that we don't have so much. I invite you to check on internet, there is almost no elements regarding these parallels, that similarities between the religions and spirituality in general. Like if it was divine and conquer, like this, even the subsets are not sharing anything, you understand? So it creates a confusion. despite the fact that originally there is like a tree of life. You have the trunk, okay, the trunk, and then you have the different, let's say, branch. But we can consider that this primordial tradition is the common thread, and this is the trunk, for which this is the same sap, this is the same roots, and so on. Okay, very important thing, a word to a why. And to illustrate this, there is very interesting sentence from Gandhi saying, who said that if we could read the scripture of different religion, we would find that they are basically identical and complement each other wonderfully. Okay, so for him there is necessarily complementarity between the different spirituality and the religion and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is dangerous once again to say this is a camp of the good, a camp of the bad. It's like taking generalities like French people are like this, Chinese are like this, American people are like this, and so on. They are people. We are unique. Okay, so there's characters, there is mood within the day, within our, according to our age, and so on. So this is really limited vision to only think about like generality. Generality doesn't bring anything. Okay, it's not science is right and spirituality is wrong, and or vice versa. Okay, but one thing very interesting regarding the approach is the fact that it's not because you cannot prove the existence of God, for example, that it doesn't exist, and on the other way around as well. You see, so it's not because you cannot prove the non-existence of God that it doesn't exist, or it does. You see, so this is an interesting approach. We will see later. So there is different, the problem of having chosen, okay, only one side and instead of another one like this. It's like if you cannot say you are right wing or left one, and you cannot admit that there are good ideas from both sides, for example, both ring. Okay, this is the same principle. So anyway, when I say it's not homogeneous, if you see, for example, science, you have mathematics, you have physics, you have mechanics, you have optics, you have pharmacy, you have biology, you have economy, you have sociology, you have psychology, you have theology. Okay, theology is, theo means, in Greek, means God. Okay, so it's more the analysis of religion and so on. So even this is a science. Okay, astronomy, astrology also. By the way, astronomy and astrology at the beginning was exactly the same thing. Astronomy is more recent, but still few centuries ago, astrology was combining astrology and astronomy. Okay. Actually, this is a kind of thing that's it's evolved. Okay, it's evolved. Like a physicist, we didn't say this word. We say philosopher of nature. Okay, still 3 centuries ago. So just to say that the zone of influence of let's say science is, we can say, everything. Okay, it's cover everything with let's say it's like different cells. Like if you know a quarter, okay, one quarter is mathematics, one other quarter is physics, another quarter is psychology, and so on. On a big city, for example, London or New York City, and it's like having knowledge would be like highlight one quarter. Okay, but the thing is, you don't know how to connect. Okay, you don't know if mathematics is more in the north or in the south. You don't know how they are linked together. That's the point. Okay, so, and this is one of the limits also of the lack of crossing information and discipline in general. Regarding the beliefs, we can consider this is the same approach in the sense that it is the zone of influence or the area of studies is everything. Okay, but this is something like you have different degrees. You have religion, which is more for mass. Okay, let's say a more massive distribution is more for hygiene, for roles, social roles, and so on and so forth. Then esoteric part, this is the hidden part of the iceberg, is more the essence of the paramount, let's say, messages and so on. Spirituality is more a kind of buffet for which you compose, you take what vibrates within you, so it's more à la carte, let's say. As Deepak Chopra said, religion is following the belief of someone else, and the spirituality is to follow your own experience. Okay, so that's really a different approach. Then you have mysticism, which is more a notion of symbol. Then you have different subliminal words like entity, ghost, archetypes, egregor, and so on and so forth. And then maybe, let's say, less obvious, which are the notion of energies. Okay, so we can consider that all beliefs and even the discipline are different roads, okay, for which you have a motorway, you have national roads, you have and so on, the small roads, pathway, and so on and so on. So you have different vehicle, you have different roads, all the roads lead to Rome and to the Dome. It means that, okay, to Rome is the materiality, and to the Dome is the spirituality, and to home is the to open up the inner temple, contemplate. Okay, and you can contemplate, you can admire the beauty of life through science, and the more you study, the more you find amazing things. So that's a little bit this notion of let's say a buffet. And also, you know, I do the link, is the notion of buffet is like Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, the Hindu philosophy, let's say art of living, means literally science of life, okay, covering all types of topics, including nutrition. Nutrition, it's always according to the ingredients, according to the metabolism, that you say the blood type and so on, the moment of the season, of the day, and so on and so forth. And when you cross all this, you never have any miracle recipe. You only have a miracle adaptation. And this is really a metaphor for me, because it means that there is nothing imposed, there is nothing let's say, integrating this notion of absolute truth, like, you know, objective truth. These are only paths that you can choose among. Okay, so very important point. Let's try to see the evolution of the history regarding this topic. Is it a love story from the past? Because a lot of people, if we do a survey, would think, no, it has been always a battle and so on. Let's try to take a look. We were talking about Ayurveda, once again, Ayurveda, and same for Chinese philosophy. So Ayurveda has let's say 4, 5, 6 millenniums. Same for Chinese traditional medicine, Taoism, and so on. This is the same principle. It's spirituality among science. This is spirituality and science combining, let's say, all together. Okay, so they don't dissociate. We can consider, so that's the point, and we're gonna see that the whole story is a kind of honeymoon, quite long, and then there will be a split, indeed, there will be a divorce, but we will try to see when it occurred and how long. Okay, so Ayurveda, the notion of, because you're gonna think, Chinese, Indian philosophy, this is a little bit far away if you are Westerners, for example. Yes, okay, so let's try to see that the shamans everywhere in the world, same. They are intercessors, so they are kind of intercessor with the invisible world, okay, entities, disease, and so on. So they are doctors, okay, operationally, and also they are most of the time they are a little bit guides for establishing a social, peaceful, let's say, environment. Okay, so they are kind of spiritual and also scientists. Okay, so you're gonna think, yeah, but we don't have shaman is essentially in Central Asia, in Southeast Asia, and or in Africa, in South America, and so on. Yes, it's true, but it exists with Celts, it exists with Druids, and so on and so forth. They are in all cultures. Okay, let's go a little bit closer. Okay, the basis, the foundation of Western society is coming from Greece, ancient Greece. Okay, at this period of time, we can consider that Thales, Pythagoras, Aristotle, Plato, and so on, most of them, they are, let's say, scientists, they are philosophers. Okay, so more literature and more, let's say, science, plus most of the time they are also mystics. Okay, Pythagoras is the creator of the school of discoveries, so it's a little bit Harry Potter. Okay, so this is serious. This means that originally there is no scission, there is no split between both. It's kind of complementarity. For them it's absolutely obvious. Okay, so and if we go further, you know, just because it's even further than this, you know, the first civilization we found is Göbekli Tepe. It's in Turkey, for which we date at 12,000 years, and even further 14,000 years. So it means that it contradicts the Holy Scripture with 6,000 years ago with Eve and Adam and so on, and or maybe it's a metaphor, okay, kind of consciousness and so on. So let's try to see this notion of Göbekli Tepe. Why it's so interesting, socially speaking? Because it's a different approach. Before, without that, the sedentarization, so the fact to be stable, occur after nomadism. Okay, but it's not completely true. Thanks to the cults, thanks to the belief, they started to establish some temples and so on, like Stone Age equivalent, and to be linked. Okay, so it was easier to be established, to live around, in order not to have to do the path all the time. So let's say the social orchestration started thanks to the beliefs, a common belief. This is an interesting point. You know, there is a lot of BAs, okay, error, mistakes, for which, you know, we think that, for example, Epicure is only materialistic. It's not true. Is materialistic, okay, good food and so on, good fun and so on, entertainment, and also spirituality. So when we say it's Epicurean, it's not exactly the same definition. When we say that Descartes is Cartesian. Cartesian means materialistic, and he only believes what he sees. We'll see that it is absolutely not true. It's he was close to Rosicrucian, which is the esoteric Protestantism. So we cannot consider, when he talk about the cell, the pineal glands, he was saying the seat of the cell. The soul is absolutely not rational, is not Cartesian at all. So Descartes is not purely Cartesian. Okay, so very important. Same for Manichean. Is not. He was more applying a kind of holistic approach. Okay, so let's continue with this notion of more recent, you know, Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, Spinoza, all this kind of scientists. Spinoza, I know it's a philosopher, but Kepler and so on, they have been obliged to renounce to their discoveries according to, because of the institution and the obscurantism. So, but they were believers. Kepler said God is a mathematician, and they have a deep faith. They have. It's just that they don't have the same narrow-minded vision of the institution of this period of darkness that we call Inquisition. So we can consider that if you analyze, okay, Descartes, I told you, he talk about the seat of soul for the pineal gland. This is not really rational. Newton, the father of modern science, is an alchemist. An alchemist is just the mind, okay, it's a kind of magic, okay, it's the fact to transmute, okay, the materials, yeah, but let's say on the very down-to-earth perspective, but it's more than this, is just to an introspection for, with your mindset, you purify yourself through the external materials and so on, okay, so it's your mindset impacting the purity of the materials, and the purity of the materials purifying your body. Okay, so it's quite it's not so conventional, let's say. So Newton was a great alchemist. Einstein, Max Planck, Schrödinger, Heisenberg, all of them. I mean, the father of science and quantum mechanics, were believers. Okay, they believe in God, or at least a concept. When Einstein say, before telling me if I believe in God, asking me if I believe in God, define what you understand through God. If it's the God, the Spinoza's God, indeed. So with the vision that God is everywhere and so on. Da Vinci or Avicenne is an equivalent. Both, okay, for me they are genius. Both of them, they said that they had an inspiration thanks to the angels. Okay, so this is absolutely not rational. And Da Vinci and Avicenna, both of them, they had few centuries in advance. Okay, it's kind of having like knowledge like a century in advance. So it means that maybe they have been inspired in a certain extent. Sorry. So what I try to tell you is history has a selective memory. What does it mean? It means that what we learn, what we think, okay, regarding history is not completely true. I mean, it's not that we change history. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the memory of history is a bit different. Okay, so we can say that it has been honeymoon and a good collaboration and a love story until Inquisition. Okay, Inquisition, for which is officially 2 centuries, but it's more than this because it still remained till mid of let's say 19th century. For example, another point of change is 1850 with the Industrial Revolution in Britain and then in the world, but also in parallel of that, at the same period with Allan Kardec in France, in Europe, and especially in South America, with now they have a the spirit movement. They have 30 million members. I lived, let's say, 3 months in Mexico with a community, and it was interesting experience. But anyway, just to say that at this period of time, because before Inquisition, people are completely in the superstition. Okay, they go in the forest, they're afraid about elves and so on. You know, so it's really everybody is casting spells and so on. So it's kind of mess. Okay, so Inquisition clean up a little bit that, we could say, even if they did horrible things, torture and so on. We do agree, of course. But then, so it has been like a frustrated perception of religion, like not really harmonious. We're always afraid and so on and so forth. And then, and also we have been detached from the invisible world, like angels, like ghosts, like entities and so on. So he tried, not only him, he is pushed from the backstage invisible world to re-establish a connection with the invisible world. Okay, so we can say that this is a change of period of time. Then 60s, 70s, okay, with peace and love movement and so on in States, in Europe and so on. It's a kind of, this is the beginning of New Age. Okay, so what is it? It is more kind of spirituality with a certain detachment, with a freedom and so on. People want to be a little bit preserved and to be to have more freedom regarding their beliefs and so on. So we can say that by this moment we had a kind of supremacy regarding science, and for which it became a kind of ultimate truth, in the sense that all should be demonstrated, and if not, it doesn't exist. Okay, so this is scientism. Scientism is just the sacralization of science, and nothing more exists almost, to do a shortcut, let's say. But considering blind faith and so on is just obscurantism, okay, and or proselytism and or superstition and so on and so forth. So we can consider that this revenge can be undestinable because science suffers so much during Inquisition. So, but you know, it's like when you drive, if you fall asleep, okay, and you touch the right side, immediately you wake up and you do on the other way around. So the goal now is probably more to be in the middle way, okay? So, and I think that there is kind of openness, let's say, more and more, and with 2020 and so on, because people start to awaken, certain of them, and I mean, qualitatively and quantitatively. There is more people, that's a matter of fact, and there is also more qualitative approach, and in parallel of that, more quantitative as well. That's why we have to pay attention. All right, this is only the first step of just to see a little bit the big picture of this topic, which is really rich. We will continue with 3 more videos. This is only one key to help you to shape your master key, to open up the door of consciousness, love, whatever you want. As you know, all the roads lead to Rome and to the Dome and to home. Thank you for your attention, and see you very soon.